Mai, ki tēnei te pāpāhotanga matora, atu I te marae o te tāwairiri mai hi kawiti, ki konei ki Waioomio, hei whakamaumahara I tēnei pakanga te Ruapekapeka, ko te tau kotahirau, warurau, no te pakanga, ko tai mai te tinimake hua, I roto I ngā rangi e rua, hei aha, hei whakatutuki te karanga o te wā, ina nahi rā, I tai mai ko ngā hapu me ngā iwi o te tai tokerau whānui ai te rangi nei. Te ata tonu, pōhiri tuatahi ko ngā iwi o te motu I whakaeke mai ki runga ki a tātou. Ana I nā tata nei oti ai te wāhanga ki te pōhiri tuarua. Ara ko ngā mema pāre mata, ngā kai kaunihera, oti rā ngā hōia o te taua o Aotearoa, rātou katoa I tai mai te rangi nei, ki te whakanui, ki te whakamaumahara, I tēnei kaupapa nui whakaharahara. Engari e hoama, hari te mea kua oti, mena kua wareware ke I a koe tōku ingoa, ko Zayan, Paratamate Benson Brown tēnei, kei tōku nei taha, koe Madonna Jakeman, tēnā koe Madonna kei te pēhea.
Tēnā koe e Zayan, ai e tātou mako e Madonna Jakeman tēnei, te tahi o ngā kaipāpāho hoa haere o Zayan, nā reira. Engari te tuatahi, tēnei te mihi kia koe e Zayan, ko koe te kaiarahi o mātou ngā kaipāpāho mo tēnei kaupapa ko te rā wā Maumahara o te Ruapekapeka. Nā reira, tēnei te mihi kia koe, mo tō mahi hei kaiarahi, mo te pāpāho o tēnei kaupapa. You know, ko tai te wā, te ahiahi, tata ka mutu te rā tuarua o tēnei kaupapa. Engari, e ora tonu ana tātou, ahakoa te taumahatanga o ngā wetahi o ngā kōrero, te hōhonu o te kōrero pakanga, kite ana taua I ngā tira taua me te heke Riri, engari, I pai ana.
Tikana ngā kōrero, kātai te wera hoki o ngā rangi e rua kotaha ke nei. Koe nei pia te rā tino nui o ngā rā e toru, ina nahi rā, waimari e tātou, I aukati wawe, te kaupapa, whaimuri ake I te wānanga, I guess ko tahi ana ki te pōhiri hoki ina nahi rā, I tēnei rangi tonu, e rua ngā pōhiri, ko hoki mai tātou ki te whakapāho atu, I te wāhanga ki te wānanga. Ana he maha ngā kai kōrero, ka tukuna ki te rākau kōrero, kua rongo kōrero I a hūhana, te tahi o ngā kai whakahaere o te kaupapa nei, ko Paul Goldsmith tērā, ka whai wāhi ki te paku kōrero, ko etahi o ngā māngai mō pakanga kē atu, ka tū ki te kauhau, pēnei te pakanga ki o Māori, ki o rākau. Haramai te pai, ka ruku hohonu tonu tātou, ka wete kina ko ngā huatanga e hāngai ana ki ngā wāhi rereke. Me pono ngā kōrero, hanga kai ka ana ki te whakarongo ki ngā kōrero Minika Goldsmith, kia kite kia hara te Pūtake I tai mai ai ia, o tira kia kite mena he hua I ana kōrero, ka whārikihia ki te marea I te rangi nei. Ina nahi rā, kia mohio mai koutou, he tini tonu ngā tāngata I ū mai, mo tēnei wāhanga ki te wānanga, kia aue titiro haere ana, I think nā te tino wera o te rā, te hanga nei, kawehe te nuinga o te hunga I konei. Pea, ka hoki mai, engari mo te wā nei, he Māori tau, he Māori pai, he Māori ora tonu, e rongo ana ki konei, ki te marae aka I mua I tō tātou whare a te tāwairiri mai ki Kawiti.
Tēnā koe. And if you've just joined us, whānau, you've got Madonna and Zayan here. Tonu ana ki te kaupapa ko te Ruapekapeka. It has been a hot day, so I'm really pleased that we've got this live stream so that whānau that who have gone home or maybe even gone into the creek for a bit of a koukou down at the awa. I'm wondering whether we should have taken this whole wānanga to the awa. They can catch the kōrero later. So mihi ana tēnei. I'm mindful of all the people that have been working hard in the kitchen in this wera rawa. Ngāti hine ki tua, our whanaunga who are living largely in Tāmaki Makaurau made their way down last night and the nights before, who have been working hard in the kitchen alongside our whānau at Mohi Nui Marae to provide wonderful kai here. So I'm thankful for all the whānau who have come to support, and all of the travellers. Ngā iwi o te motu came here today from all across the motu. So e mihi ana tēnei ki ngā haue whā kua taumai nei ki te tautoko I te kaupapa, and then of course to our kāwanatanga representatives and the British representatives who have made it today. We've got a full complement of ngā uri katoa no te pakanga, ne?
Ai, tikana ngā kōrero, ko ngā uri wēnei o te pakanga o Ruapekapeka, ka whakarauika ka mai nei, ki Waioomio, ki te pokapū, ki te oroko hanga o Ngāti Hine, ki te whakanui, ki te whakamaumahara, ai tēnei kaupapa rangatira. Ka mutu, he tini ngā tamariki tonu, e omo haere ana, he tini ngā kaumātua kuia. What I wonder is, mena I te mea, puare katoa ana, ngā ana o roku, puare katoa ana, ngā Kawiti Caves, I Waenganui tēnei whakamaharatanga. I wonder what it's like to be a tūruhi, going into the caves, coming out and seeing what's happening here. If they had to come up and use the whareiti, seeing te ao Māori in full display. What an exciting time for them, or moment, or experience it must have been to just so happen to decide to come to the caves today and be present amongst all of these magnificent kai kōrero and this massive occasion. Hopefully our tour guides at the caves were able to explain to them the significance of this kaupapa. No doubt if I was down there still working, I would have made sure they knew. Heoi, ko tēnā. Yeah, hara mai te wairua pai au tēnei kaupapa no te timatanga tai rāno mai ki tēnei wā, and again, he rā no a pōpō.
Ai tika tira tēnā koe e Zayan. And, you know, whānau aren't familiar with Kawiti Caves. You know, that's a tour that you can come here most days of the year actually, with tour guides, whānau who take you through, share the wonder of the caves and our glowworms in there, and all the history that's connected to the area. So encouraging whānau who haven't gone through Kawiti Caves, they are open most days, and to the tourists that you're talking about, Zayan, you know, that's still an operation. Ahakoa, you know, this kaupapa is happening, and I can only imagine, you know, wetahi o ngā tūruhi coming in, and ai mārika, ki te ana rāti ngā maro, me te haka, me te tira.
Ai te mea ko te nuinga o ngā tira taua, I te whakarite I a rātou anō, ki roto I ki raro rā, ki te tūnga waka o ngā ana. So they would have been seeing full display our tira taua, just resting, relaxing as much as they could before jumping into the next pōhiri. Ia we kōrero tahi ana ki wetahi o rātou, hei tā rātou, oh yeah, they were taking photos of us and free photos though, we should have charged them $10, nah. Engari, yeah. Pahu nā pai ngā kōrero. E ronga nei tēnei wā, e hoa mā koutou, e mā taki e whakarongo mai ina. Te hanga nei, kei te timata ko te taha ki ngā wānanga, kua ea te wā ki ngā kai, kua whakanoatia, wā tātou manuhiri I tēnei wā. Nā reira, hoki mai ana rātou, ai te wharekai I mātamate kino, kei te āta noho haere, wā tātou, well, we're manuhiri, now, haukainga, kia whakarongo ki ngā kōrero, ka pupu ake ki roto I tēnei wānanga. Nā, e ki te anau I a Paul Goldsmith e noho ana, te hanga nei kua rite te koroke rā, ki te tuku I ana kōrero. Heoi. Ai, like I mentioned, hari te mea e muia katoa ti ana te papa e te tāngata I tēnei wā. E ki te tonu ana I wetahi o ngā ngā uri o iwi rereke kua noho tonu mai, I rongo kōrero a hau, ko ngā te ope o te whakatōhia, I hoki wawe ki tō rātou kāinga, he hui mate tā rātou ai te kāinga, nā reire māramana, ko kore rātou e ū tonu mai, e noho tonu mai. Still very hot e marama, ko tini kākahu au. I've changed from my black t-shirt to a more befitting singlet more befitting kākahu of this weather. Ki te ana I te rahi o ōku whanaunga I konei, hara mai te tahi āhua.
Ai, tēnā koe. Yeah, we're really coming into the last parts of day 2 here at Kawiti Marae, and looking forward to hearing the kōrero mai ngā taha e rua. So aini pia ka timata e tātou te wānanga whakamutunga o te rā, and going into some of the speeches. So Huhana's just mentioning that we are live streaming on Te Pūtake o Te Riri Facebook page, and looking forward to hearing the kōrero from the chair of Te Ruapekapeka Trust and Minister Pūtake, Goldsmith, and several others. Nā reira.
Ai, haere tonu ana ngā kōrero e hoa ma, e hoatu ana te rākau kōrero I nāi ki te rangatira o te tarihiti te hamana kia puta tipene katahuri ake ki aia.
E whakarane ake I nā kōrero, me te whakawaha ake I ngā kaupapa mo ngā tarahiti o te Ruapekapeka. Kia ora everybody, what I just said is that the welcomes have been had, but welcome to each and every one of you who has come here today, including those who have joined online for the 180th commemorations, not only of the Battle of Te Ruapekapeka, because Te Ruapekapeka was the culmination of all of the battles and the conflicts that began in March 1845 and ended on the 11th of January 1846. I stand here to address you all. This hat is as chair of Te Ruapekapeka Trust. It's not as the chair of the Northern Regional Council or any other positions I hold. Please hear that clearly. I represent Ngāti Hine on the trust, alongside trustees from Ngāti Manu, Ngāti Hau and Te Kapotai, who are around the grounds or in the kitchen and doing all of the mahi. Together we stand on the shoulders of previous trustees, those still with us in this mortal world, such as Penny Henare, Willow Jean Prime, Arapeta Hamilton. Those are just some who have served on Te Ruapekapeka Trust. Moreover, we stand as trustees of this generation on the foundations of those who have very sadly passed away. If I can name a few, Te Raumoa Kawiti, who was a kaumātua at this very marae. Te Rā Nehua, who only passed away a few weeks ago. There were others like Alan Halliday, Wati Cooper, Karen Herbert, our kaumātua Peter Hereora, amongst many others who have served the trust over many years. I know it's very hot and some of you will get hoha, but there are some things that I need to say as the chairman of Te Ruapekapeka Trust. So we have designated tomorrow, starting at 4 a.m, the unveiling of the pauihi at the intersection of State Highway 1 and Te Ruapekapeka Road. Then we will go up to below the pa itself for the unveiling of the 12 pau tupuna, and then conclude up at the pa itself. I'm saying that because tomorrow we have no room for speeches such as this. We are following our tikanga from start to finish. And so therefore, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself by acknowledging people where you haven't even seen the pou. Our purpose, or our kaupapa of Te Ruapekapeka Trust, is to maintain and enhance the ihi, the wehi, and the mana of Te Ruapekapeka, including the battlefield, of which includes the British camp, the British board, artillery position, and the other component parts that we really can't call Te Ruapekapeka pa. So call it sanctity, call it reverence, and the dignity of the pa and its stories. We are there to protect and enhance what has been left to us, because it's one of the few battlefield sites in the country that haven't been completely obliterated, and you only have to think of the other pa sites here in the north. So I'd be surprised if anybody hasn't been to Ruapekapeka to enjoy what we are collectively the kaitiaki of. I would like to acknowledge the Department of Conservation, and where did I see? Oh, Sue Reid Thomas, as the Regional Manager for DOC, works very closely with our trust. We have a very good relationship, and we have managed to progress a lot of the work. So to you, Sue, and the team, thank you very much. I am very disappointed that the Minister of Conservation, Tama Pūtake, is not here, because ultimately, and Sue knows this, and so does the Minister, that we want, as the hapu kaitiaki, for the return of the whenua of Te Ruapekapeka pa. Not dissimilar to Kororipo pa, Minister, that you've been working hard on as well with Ngāti Rehia. So, acknowledging the Department of Conservation, we do have a strategic plan. We're not working away at things ad hoc. Similarly to Kawiti himself, who was known for his strategy. So we do have an agreed strategy. We do have an agreed work plan. And the pou, for instance, and the many other works that were commissioned that we will unveil tomorrow are only part of plans that we have for Te Ruapekapeka. It's already been noted in the mihi whakatau that we do want that whenua back, and to work with the kāwanatanga to have that whenua returned. Because the site is nationally significant, so much so, and I'm not going to go into the detail of it, but the British, after Te Ruapekapeka, copied it, drew it, made replicas of it, took it back over to England, took it to their military academies at Woolwich and the other academies in Britain, and they learnt from that. So we know how significant it is. So we want the government, kāwanatanga, to engage with us further to carry out that enhancement. I know Shane Jones has left, but I wanted to acknowledge and thank Shane Jones. We know how he's a historian. He knows his whakapapa. We admire and respect him for that, but we also acknowledge him for his support, not only of Te Ruapekapeka, but the other battle sites in the north. So much so that when we travel from the Pauihi at the turn-off to Ruapekapeka Road and go up to the Pa, we will be travelling on a tar-sealed road that wasn't tar-sealed 5 years ago. So amongst all of the enhancements, Shane Jones is one who we acknowledge and support. The name of the overall kaupapa, which I won't go into detail, but they are both tangible signs of the improvements as in the pou, but there are also less intangible aspects of the project, like improving the website and other component parts. We've called it Te Ika o Te Kōpua. We called it Te Ika o Te Kōpua because that means the fish from the deep. The fish of the deep was the name given by Kawiti to the task they had in front of them of taking on the British Army, the big fish. So they were under no illusions about how strong the British Navy, Army, and others that made up the force. So we called the project Te Ika o Te Kōpua. As I say, I won't go over the parts, but some of those we will enjoy tomorrow. I would like to acknowledge some people who are certainly not here, but have been really a strong part of the journey from the government perspective. They being people like Ben Dalton, Grant Bergen, Joe Litton, Kōwhai Dalton, Shane Ratt, and Claudia Lyons. We have worked with our archaeologists. We have worked with Heritage New Zealand. We have worked with the Far North District Council, and all, as partners, have really done well with us. In terms of the sponsors for this particular kaupapa, I wanted to acknowledge not only our organising team led by Albert Arapeta Cash and the team who worked tirelessly around this marae and up at the pa to make sure that everything is ready, but we were funded by Te Puni Kokiri. Krehi, I saw you here somewhere. Yes, Grace, thank you for your support. Te Puni Kokiri. Te runanga aiwi o Ngapuhi, Mane Tahere who couldn't join us. Te Kahu o Taunui, the Tai Tokero Iwi chairs, the Far North District Council, which by the way, Moko Tepa near the mayor and others were here yesterday. I see Davina's here though, somewhere. Davina? Yes. The Department of Internal Affairs and Foundation North, who all contributed to this wonderful kaupapa. I don't want to go and talk too long, but I do want to talk about two things. One of them being Te Pūtake o Te Riri, because in acknowledging Te Pūtake o Te Riri, which is the national name for all of the battles fought in colonial times, is that Orako, who are here, and Kawhia, who's sitting there with a very colourful shirt. E Kawhia tēnā koe. Kawhia and I were call us the iwi reps who were asked to go down to Wellington and sit on a committee which would distribute funds. When Cabinet put together, I think it was $4 million over 4 years, the minister at the time was Te Ururoa Flavel, and Sir Widow Gardner was the chair. And at the very first meeting, and Kawhia will remember this, we were told that the name of the kaupapa, this national day, would be called the New Zealand Wars. And I said, well, as far as I'm concerned, I won't be calling it the New Zealand Wars. And our chair, Widow Gardner, said, well, what would you call it, Peter? And I said, I would suggest Te Pūtake o Te Riri. And he asked, why? And I said, well, it's more about the motivations for the conflict and going for war, waging war, notwithstanding that some were pacifism in their approach, as in Taranaki. So, Te Pūtake, meaning the root cause of the conflict, instead of calling it the New Zealand War. So it actually took on that name. The first date that was suggested was the 28th of October, which we, certainly us here in Tai Tokere, like to keep that day set aside. So we said 28th of October does not suit us. when we were asked, well, which date suits us, we went for March the 11th, when Kororareka was first attacked in 1845, starting off the Northern Wars. So a little bit of history. This little stream that runs out of that cave is called Pākihikihi. Mohinui runs up that valley, and they join down here to Waihomio and go out to the Taumarere River. This place has a wāhi tapu over there called Otarawa. I say that because my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, is buried up there, as is my maternal great-grandmother, Karanihiku. When we had the commemorations for 180 years for the Battle of Te Kahika on the shores of Lake Maumahara back last May, I got up at the kōrero afterwards at the Okaiho College and said, you people here who have welcomed us are all kupapa. Kupapa meaning traitor. You are the descendants of traitors. People were, of course, taken aback by being told that they were traitors. But I said, I was raised to believe that you were traitors. My forebears told me this. But now that I'm a little bit more independent in my thinking, I want to grapple with this, with you being called kupapa, and we cannot hide what we think, because unless we have some candid discussions, there will be no reconciling that word. So yesterday when Tai Tokerau turned up, we had a good discussion about it, and certainly those who were here put it to rest by holding karakia. So certainly those of us who were here were sealed that while we may have had different perspectives about whose side you were on and what they represented in 2026 and beyond, we really have to move forward. So I conclude by saying that, because we need to continue to have those discussions and to work together to ensure that we're looking after the circumstances of the people for us in Ngāti Hine, for the people of Ngāpuhi Nui Tonu and the people of Tai Tokerau. On behalf of Te Ruapekapeka Trust, tēnā koutou, kia ora mai tātou.
E mihi atu ana ki ngā trahiti o Te Ruapekapeka, mō tēnei kaupapa o tātou, hei Maumahara ki ngā tūpuna, aha kua te aha, ko te whakapapa tētahi mea, e here nei a tātou katoa i ngā wā katoa. Nō reira tēnā koe e te heamana. Following on from Peter's address, we're going to invite Minister Paul Goldsmith to speak to us. And you've got a few portfolios that are relevant for us in the North, Minister, and I'm thinking about even our culture and heritage portfolio, which is really important for things like this. So glad that you're here and you came amongst us, and look forward to hearing a few words from you as you prepare to depart. Nō reira, kia ora tātou.
Kia ora, nā kaitiaki o Ruapekapeka, tēnei taku mihi atu, kia koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā kātou katoa. Thank you very much for that warm introduction and for your kind words, Peter, and I want to echo his thanks to the many people who have been involved in the development of this day, which is an important opportunity to reflect on events of 180 years ago and what's happened since. And I know a lot of people have put a lot of hard work into this, and I bring greetings from my ministerial colleague Tama Pūtake, who can't be here today, as Peter said, but was very keen to see that Te Puni Kokori assisted in the development of this day. And I'd also want to acknowledge the officials from Te Tari Whakatau and my two chief negotiators for the work that we're doing across Ngāpuhi, Tā Rob McLeod and Brian Ticky, who are here today, and the many people. I also want to acknowledge Wazzy Shortland for his honour this year, and that is a very fitting thing for a wonderful many decades of service and many more to come, I'm sure. And I was reflecting on some of the words that he spoke, and I certainly agreed with his comment that nobody wins from war. And I think looking back on that, none of my ancestors were involved in this battle, but they were involved in other battles further to the south on the east coast, and the ramifications of those years still rattle through my family and all our families. And so it is important that we take time to reflect on things that have happened in our past and the motivations of that, and never forget it. And so I think it's important on that score, and I agree that war is something that nobody wants to see again anywhere near these isles that we live in. The other thing he raised was the question of what was the question that he raised? He raised a number of questions in relation to a wide-ranging topics, but he was talking about the progress that we've made, and that two nations had come together in 1840, and his worry was that one had been lost or had lost its way. And I suppose the only point I'd make in reaction to that would be to say, well, that's one way of looking at it. Another way, of course, is that rather than something being lost, something new was found and something new was created, and that is the nation that we enjoy today, which draws together the strands of the many different strands of iwi and hapu across this country, and of Britain, and of course the many that have come subsequently along this way. And that to me is something to celebrate. And yes, of course, we will continue to have lots of discussions and about the past and the future and where we are today. And I'm very hopeful, particularly in the context of the broader efforts around a broader Ngāpuhi settlement, which I'm responsible for in one of my roles. I feel that there is a real stirring and a desire on the part of many people. Of course, there's lots of variety of views on all these topics, but there's desire amongst many to make progress, and we're standing here ready to continue that conversation. And I'm very much looking forward to the weeks ahead, particularly over the Waitangi week, where those discussions will continue. And we do that, and it was a wonderful thing last year to pass the legislation returning Kororipo Pā as a stepping stone along towards the broader settlement. And it would give me great pleasure to be able to extend that through the conversations that we continue to have to this area as well, and to Ruapekapeka. So it's wonderful to be here today. I think this has been a unique experience for me in this wonderful, I would describe as a cauldron today in the heat, and a day I'll certainly never forget. And I think an important time of reflection, but also a time, I think, of great hopes and aspirations that we can make good progress on the broader discussions that we have. And as I've said before, and I'll say again, there are two things that would really make a difference to Northland. One is continuing the decent road that the previous national governments have started, and we're continuing. And secondly, is to make further progress on a broader settlement of the Ngāpuhi claims, and to bring some not only extra resources into this area, but to have a time to be able to bring an element of settlement to those ongoing discussions. And I'm very keen to be part of it. And ultimately, we can be one of those generations that doesn't get onto it, or we can be the generation that does achieve something. And I hope that we can be the generation that does. So without further ado, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you very much.
Tēnā koe te minita, and thank you for joining us. Knowing that you need to shoot off, it's good that you were here and be able to experience Te Ruapekapeka 180, and we'll be back again for the 185. And hopefully by then we'll have some progress on land back for Te Ruapekapeka. But we are lucky to have the British High Commission. If I might just go to the British High Commission first and invite in Commander Proudman, because he is the representative of the High Commissioner here on behalf of that office, and an opportunity for us to hear from him and share some whakaaro, because it's been a couple of days of experience, I think. Meant to come today, but came yesterday. So why not, hey, soak up a whole heap of Māoritanga and all those experiences that we've been providing in hospitality, hopefully, as well. So nō reira, nau mai haere mai, Commander Proudman.
Tēnā koutou katoa. E te iwi e ngā rangatairi, e ngā uri o te unga I tuki Ruapekapeka. Ka nui te mihi kia kotu, ka Maumahara tonu tātu ki te kaha, ki te maia, ki te manawanui o ratu, I pakanga mo te whenua, mo te rangatira tanga. E hari ana ahau kia noho hai kai tō hotohu arai I Aotearoa. It's an honour to stand here today at Kawati Marae to remember the Battle of Te Ruapekapeka and all those who fought here in 1846. We acknowledge the courage, skill and sacrifice of the Maori warriors who defended this pa and the profound impact this battle has had on New Zealand. Today is a moment for reflection, humility and respect. The engineering ingenuity of Te Ruapekapeka, the determination of his defenders, and the lives lost on both sides remind us that conflict leaves deep and lasting marks on communities and nations. It is important that we remember these stories honestly and that we honour those who paid the highest price. I am both a Royal Navy officer, a British citizen, but also a proud New Zealand resident, and my family and I are deeply honoured to be guests in your country. I also want to acknowledge my colleague, Makaurau Derbyshire, Puarai, who is also here today. I know she has some great connections in Te Tai Tokerau, which show the importance we place on our Maori relationships throughout Aotearoa, New Zealand. The lessons of Te Ruapekapeka remind us why these matter. They call on us to listen, to learn, and to deepen the bonds between our peoples. They challenge us to use our partnership not only to strengthen defence and security, but also to uphold the values of humility, transparency, and cooperation. As we commemorate this battle, may we do so with respect for the past and resolve for the future, ensuring that the relationship between the UK and New Zealand continues to grow in a way that honours the sacrifices made here and supports the generations to come. Ngā mihi, mahana, kia kotu, I tēnei rā whaka Maumahara. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, katoa. E te wā, horoia, e te wā, whiti whitia, e te rā, mahe ake nā, uraru raru, makere anga, ahere, herere, ki ngā o te rangi. Whiti, whiti a e te rā. Mahea heia. Pūraruraru. Makere ana ahere. Makere ana ahere. Kia ora.
Choice one, all right. We got a waiata out of that one too. And her name's Makere. Oh, kia ora, tēnā koe. We're going to hear next from the Vice Chief of the Defence Force. We have Rear Admiral Matthew Williams here on behalf of the New Zealand Defence Force to provide some words of tautoko. And it's awesome to have all of these teams here representing all of the many facets of the battle. Nō reira, kia ora. Kia ora, Matt.
Tihei Māori ora, taku piki, taku kaki. Ki te kā pui pui o te wao. Kia marama ai taku kitei. I te aro moana. I te aro whenua. I te aro arangi. Ko te ope kātua o Aotearoa. I te aro a iwi, a hapu, ko au, aueiha. Tūruki, tūruki, pāneke, pāneke. Tūruki, tūruki, pāneke, pānaki. Haramai te tauki. Homi e, hui e, tāki e. Te whare e te nui nei, te tāwai riri, maihi kāwiti. Tēnā koe. Tēnā kōrua, ko tu marae e tā koto nei. Nā te hine, koutou kōna iwi o te tai taukarau. Kōna iwi o te motu, rau rangatira mā, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou ko koutou mātei. Ānei tātou e whai whakaaro nei. Ki o tātou tūpuna, kua wihi ki te pō. Nō reira, ki o tātou ātua mahi. Haere, haere, haere atu rā. Kia tātou te hunga ora. Nā ka nohi ora o rātou, mā kui whetu rangitia. Tēnau anō tātou. So on behalf of the Chief of Defence Force, I'd like to thank Peter and the Te Ruapekapeka Trust for the invitation to join ngā iwi o te tai taukarau and iwi from across the nation to commemorate the end of the Battle of Ruapekapeka. And so I want to begin by acknowledging the many rangatira who have actually left already, but obviously the Honourable Paul Goldsmith, and today we also saw Shane Jones and also Casey Costello. I know that the Mayor of Far North District Council, Moko Tapina, was here yesterday, and of course I'd like to acknowledge my fellow sailor, Commander Michael Proudman, the Defence Advisor from the British High Commission. Also, Ngā Manahuri, Tuarangi, and Nai Uri o te Pākanga, tēnā koutou katoa. So I think as we gather here today to reflect on the Battle of Ruapekapeka and the end of the Northern War, I'd like to speak a little bit about how this battle can help guide the journey of Te Ope Katoa or Aotearoa towards being a force for New Zealand and one that genuinely reflects the bicultural nature of our country. New Zealand is facing its most challenging and dangerous strategic environments in decades. The international rules-based system is fracturing and rules are giving way to power. And we need to deal with the world as it is, not as we would wish it to be. And it's at moments like these, when the world's at its most uncertain, that the New Zealand Defence Force must be at its best. And the bicultural nature of the NZDF is a key strength in meeting this challenge, anchoring our national identity, reinforcing our values, and strengthening our cohesion, our resilience, and our effectiveness. The Northern War, fought between March 1845 and January 1846, was one of the earliest tests of the Crown-Māori relationship after the signing of Te Tiriti o Te Waitangi. The capture of Ruapekapeka, Pa, 180 years ago today, rather than being the decisive military victory that the British sought, led to a negotiated peace. Conflict is costly, so rangatira on both sides wish to bring the war to an end. And their willingness to seek peace, even after fierce confrontation, is an example to all of us of the cooperation, the respect, and the mutual understanding that we need to reconcile and live together in harmony. The courage of those 400 Ngāpuhi and Ngāti Hine warriors inside the pa, outnumbered 4-1, is undeniable. No doubt their trust and confidence in the leadership of Te Ruki Kāweti, who designed Ruapekapeka to mitigate the superior firepower of the British artillery, contributed to their bravery. And we often look overseas to examples of leadership and wisdom and guidance and overlook those who are closer to home. Kāweti's leadership, innovative thinking and courage was exceptional and something that our military leaders can aspire to. The strong presence of Māori allies who fought alongside the British forces is reminiscent of the Defence Force of today. Māori continue to make up a significant proportion of Te Ope Katoa or Aotearoa, around 20%, and even higher in some services and trades. And those Māori who serve are descendants of those who fought alongside and against our Pākehā ancestors in Ruapekapeka. And for the Royal New Zealand Navy especially, we continue to remember the significant contribution that naval forces made throughout the Northern War. From the defence and evacuation of Kororareka on the 11th of March 1845 to the capture of the Ruapekapeka Pa on the 11th of January 1846. And this history informs an important part of the Navy's modern identity. And we strive to honour our relationship with the people of Te Tai Tokoro. We value our involvement at the annual Waitangi Day celebrations, where the Royal New Zealand Navy has paraded since 1941. As a military organisation, the New Zealand Defence Force has an undeniable whakapapa to the British forces that fought against Māori here and elsewhere in Aotearoa. But while our military generally follows the British system, our warrior ethos draws heavily from Te Ao Māori. And so over the past 30 years, Te Ope Katoa or Aotearoa has strived to better reflect the blend of our Māori and British heritage, creating a unique culture that has strengthened our esprit de corps and enhanced our fighting spirit, and enables us to be successful both at home and abroad. And as a force for all New Zealand, we value our relationships with iwi, and we look forward to days like today, where we meet under the korowai of aroha to revere, to remember, and to reconcile. May the wisdom of our ancestors continue to guide us on the path of tika, pono, and aroha. Ka Maumahara tonu tātou hi a rātou. We will remember them. Tēnā koutou, kia ora mai kātou katoa. Tātou, tātou e, tūtira mai ngā iwi,
Tēnā koe, tēnā no tātou katoa. It's awesome to hear kōrero shared, particularly when we reflect back on 180 years ago, and want to give a bit of a shout out to my Green colleagues because we're still here. Labour, National and New Zealand First may have gone, but there are 3 Greens still here. Anyhow, I'll take the opportunity. But I'm going to move now, as an uri of the pakanga, to invite up David Rankin and Murray Painting. I'm not sure whether Calvin Davis is still here, but if we can invite a smooth transition to get, come on, Uncle David, where is Murray Painting? Up on stage, please. We're going to share some narratives as descendants. And yesterday we had Wānanga Part 1, and today we have additions in terms of Wānanga Part 2. And as an uri of the pakanga, I myself am a descendant of both sides, those who fought inside the pā and then those who were also on the outside fighting with the British. And that's a part of the unique heritage that we have, many of us. And through the last couple of days, building on the 175 commemorations, we have continued to talk and share stories, narratives, and build understanding. As it has been shared over the last 2 days, we need to do this because our descendants need to know more about who they are, but also through our whakapapa, it is something that binds us. And so with that in mind, I'm wanting to invite up a descendant of Honeheke to address us, Uncle David, and your whakaaro in terms of Te Ruapekapeka, but also the wider environment of what was happening at the time of these battles, the Northern Wars. Nō reira, tēnā koe, tēnā tātou.
Tēnā koutou kia koutou ngā whakate noho ana I raro I te rānei. You know, they talk about white privilege, but I tell you what, on a sunny day like this, white privilege doesn't count. I also got a complaint to make to Wayne Stokes. I'm now 65, so when I see the kaumātua sign over there, even though I look athletic and strong, I actually want to park my car over there. I don't want to walk from down on the repo over there to come in here. I'm actually of an age of importance. So without further ado, Anna, you know, many a times I go to a lot of hui around the motu, and you're sitting there, and sometimes you're sitting there and watch your whanaunga get up, and he starts telling a story, and it's all teka. Because you were at the same hui, you saw the same things, but they've just actually changed everything around. So, you know, we sometimes have a problem with oral history. So I love the ability that for 200 years, the greatest gift that colonization ever gave to my family was the ability to read and write. So documented evidence. 1858, I was here. This is what happened. So you can go back and reflect on all of those situations. So I want to talk about Honeheke. Honeheke was kind of like a more of a modern day Maui, a trickster, a player, more of a tamata kapua kind of character. Again, he loved making trouble. He actually enjoyed attention. Can you see the genetic traits? And again, but he also was, because he was educated at a very young age, he could actually see the changes that were happening and the loss of power that was happening amongst to the Maori. So Heke himself started to make a little bit of trouble here, there and everywhere, and his uncles didn't actually like this young upstart making all the trouble, but he had this following of the young people. But the old people didn't actually like him being too outspoken, because many of them had already taken on the Christian faith. So when it came for Heke to start a war with the British, you know, a lot of them say, patu one wakanene mohi tā whai menga tini atu ngā kaumātua no hokianga, turn on Heke. But the saddest part is that you don't hear of the rangatira that never turned on Heke, like Rewa, like Kaiteke, like Marupo. They all remain neutral, and yet Heke fought alongside them in many a battle. They were whanaunga kānui ta pātata Honeheke kia rātou ngā kaumātua tēnā wā. So Heke had a big problem. He just fought a big, dirty war with Ngāti Hene, Ngāti Manu, Ngāti Rangi, Te Uri Taniwha. It was called the Girls' Wars. We call it the Hookers' Wars. That was actually fighting over resources in the Bay of Islands. You know, the sale of alcohol, the girls, money, taxing the ships, taxing the sailors, you know, revenue collecting. A little bit like, I don't want to say it, a little bit like Donald Tax, a bit of tariff going on there. But the thing that Heke had, again, he had these traditional enemies, Ngāti Hene, Ngāti Manu, Ngāti Rangi, Te Uri Taniwha. He was able to get the support of his hapu, Te Matarahurau, Ngai Te Wake, Ngāti Tautahi, Ngāti Whakaeke. And also Hongi's brother-in-law, Te Ururo, Te Tahawai from Taratara, from up in the North Whangaroa way. So Heke came to see Kawiti. He rocked up to his enemy's part with a mouth. It's the first story in the front of the book. He rocked up with this mere, wrapped up. And as you know, Kawakawa, every town is famous for something. Kaigwe is famed for good-looking men. Moiri was famed for their tuna. And Kawakawa is famed for their toilets. So Hone Heke stopped at Kawakawa. And what he did, ka pani tutai ki runga ki te patu paunamu. Ki runga te patu paunamu. He rubbed excrement on the greenstone mere. He wrapped that mere up, and then he walked in. And if you are a real ngāpui, you don't go anywhere with an ope. You turn up by yourself. That shows you got mana. He rocked up and walked right up to Kawiti, tying all his guards. And remember, these guys only maybe 5, 10, 6 years ago had fought a dirty big war. And actually, I don't want to say this, Peter, we won. But so he rocked up, presented Kawiti with his mere. As Kawiti unwrapped that mere, Kawiti looked at it, because Kawiti was a man of that time. We cannot conceptualize the thinking of those men of that time. We think with 21st century minds, we think of United Nations rights and privileges and all that. All I really thought, he could see that analogy. He could see what Heke meant, that sacred taonga had been smeared, ka pani ki runga te tutai, smeared with something that was foreign and something that was repulsive. And so Kawiti joined Heke. Kawiti joined Heke. And with the support of Heke, because as you can see, Ngāti Hene like to think they're a tribe, like to think they're separate from Ngāpui, and they're right. Because Ngāti Hene sticks together. All of Ngāti Hene, when the roll was called, they were all there. And their whanaungas, Ngāti Rangi, Ngāti Manu, and Te Uri Taniwha, their Southern Alliance were all there. So Heke was able to bring his Ngāti Tautei Whakaeke and sama Ngai Te Wake. Ngāti Rihia wasn't there. Tāreha was still alive. And remember, all those big rangatiras never died until 1859. None of them participated. What a hurt that must be. But they were there. So that alliance that Kawiti made with Heke lasted for that period of time. We have our ups and downs now and then. But, you know, on the whole, I actually enjoy Ngāti Hene because I get to invite it to their functions. And they treat me quite special. I also want to talk about Aparama Taunui, Wakanene, Mohi Tāwhaina. You know, again, we all start thinking with 21st century minds. We don't understand. Hey, my tupuna was the biggest slave trader in New Zealand. They are sensitive about their feelings that Peter can call them kupapa. I wouldn't care less. All I'd say to Peter, we won. We won. So that sensitivity has come with the modern time because we have forgotten the beauty of what we are as Māori. And as Māori, we accept each other for all our fears. With our cousins telling a teka, we just sit there, oh, kia ora, bro. We accept those things. It's only now that we want to define ourselves and break ourselves down into small little groups to identify ourselves because that makes us feel really special. But we've misinterpreted the main thing of Ngāpuhi, te iti, te whakaiti, to be humble. And I suppose I have a warning to Ngāpuhi. What I'm finding now with the mandate process, everyone is starting to go, I am this, I am that, I am this hapu, I am that. And our parents' generation, Pita, we never identified ourselves, we never separated anyone else from each other. Ngā tangata kaumata moehana ka taku kōrero. We never said, we are this, we are that. Tātou no tātou, ka tangi te toto ki te toto. So we're in for troubling times. So we must heed this warning that we must stop going, he tangata ke koutou, he tangata ke mātou. You are different, I am different. Because no matter what, ko tātou katoa, ngā uri, he uri no a rahiri. Te paia ka te riri a rahiri kei runga ki a tātou. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, huri no kia koutou katoa. Hey, kanu tēnā, I'm hot, I'm tired of my white privileges. Drain me because I haven't got the melanin in my skin to actually protect me from the sun. Kia ora.
Oh, kia ora, kia ora. That was refreshing. Kia ora, with your lack of melanin in your skin. Thank you, Matua. And acknowledging that is true. We are whanaunga and we are tangata after all. And thinking about diverse whakapapa, I was trying to ask Matua Murray, which hapu do you want me to introduce you as? And he has many related to the pakanga, and that's the beauty of it. Whether we were inside or outside of the pā, we relate to many. And so Murray paintings come to share perspectives and kōrero relating to the diverse whakapapa that you bring into the space, which is really important, because I think that also helps neutralise it a little bit, some of this push and pull, but it also strengthens us for our mokopuna and those yet to come. So tēnā koe Matua Murray.
Ko whakarongarua te maunga. E whakarongo ana ki ngā tai e rua. Ko te tai hoi ngā wāhine e papaki kawana ki tau mārere, ki kororāreka, ki waitangi, ki kerikeri. E whakarongo ana ki te tai hoi ngā tāne e papaki kawana i te ngunguru o Hokianga. Just to throw a spanner in the works, we are probably more aligned to people outside the pā than inside the pā. Now I have to throw out a few caveats. I wasn't the first person to be invited here. I was just the first to accept. Now, my acceptance is based on the fact that my wife wanted me to mow the lawns, cut the hedges, and there was a long list coming. And I thought, that sounds like a better idea. Go up and eat some of Ngā Tehene's hospitality and talk, because I do like to talk. So let's start way back when the musket war started. At that time, as my whanaunga David says, we were all on the same page. That's because we were Ngāpuhi. We were going to right the wrongs and the takahin of the mana of Ngāpuhi against other iwi. But you know, idle hands are the devil's playground, so with nothing better to do, we started fighting with each other. The Gills War is a classic example. That's where my wife's whānau, so a few more disclaimers. My wife is Ngāti Manu. My children are split between Te Pōpoto and Ngāti Manu. And as you can see, one of my mokos has a Ngāti Manu t-shirt on. So it's complicated. Nothing is straightforward. Now, when we fast forward through the musket wars, we've settled old grievances. We've been to Rotorua, we've been to Mauinga, we've been to Te Ikaranganui, and we're back home. Then we signed the treaty, and all's good in the world. But Little did we know that we had signed something that we were prepared to honour, but the other party was not. And that became apparent. Now, I have to say that there was no difference between the two parties into what the issue was. The issue was the diminishing of rangatiratanga and the rise of kawanatanga, and how that impacted our people on a daily basis. What we used to be able to do freely, we had to ask permission for. How we made our living was now controlled by someone else. So there is a common theme on all sides of this pakanga, that we were being diminished in our own homes. Now the issue arises, as it does today, when there are many ways to solve this issue. Heke sought direct confrontation and rounded up people who believed that winning the war would win the argument. We, however, were counselled by our whanaunga, Hongi Hika, who had seen the might of the British Empire when he visited England in 1820 and said, there is no end to the Koti Whiro. Their numbers surpass anything he's ever seen. So he cautioned us to be fearful should the Koti Whiro arrive on our shores. Now, after Heke cut down the flagpole the first time, a man of war appeared in the bay with Koti Whiro on it. That man of war went up the Kirikiri River and those soldiers were unloaded onto the shore. On hearing that, the group of rangatira of Waimate and Hokianga asked for a meeting with the governor. They said, please, governor, come to this meeting. Make sure you bring no arms, that you bring no Koti Whiro, and that you bring just someone to take notes. Now, in that meeting, as utu for Heke's transgression, a sum of 10 muskets was asked for in payment. At that meeting were Rewa, Tareha, Patuene, Wakanene, Te Taunui, Mohi Tāwhai, and all the important chiefs. And they made a promise to the governor, leave Māori issues for Māori to solve. Do not interfere. Kia u ki tō reina, stay in your own lane. And gave the 10 muskets. Now Heke didn't attend. He sent Ruhi, who is Turi Taniwha, as his emissary. And Ruhi said he had heard that the payment was 10 muskets. And he interpreted that as being the butt end of the musket being Te Ahuahu, which is the maunga up around the lake, right through to Te Kaikohe, the seizure of lands. And he refused to come. Now, as a consequence of this meeting, we raised issues with the governor. And we said to the governor, hey, governor, your predecessor agreed to these certain things. Lands unjustly held would be returned. That tariffs that were put on, duties that were put on ships that were visiting would be removed, and that we could trade freely. Now those two things, and the last one was the return of all land that had been taken by the government that was considered surplus. So as a result of those three assurances, the Ropu said, leave Heke to us, we will sort him out. As a result, Kororaraka was garrisoned by our people. But when Heke came the second time to cut down the flagstaff, they just let him. And they said, we will not spill blood for a tree. But as things escalated, and finally on the fourth cutting of the flagstaff, blood had been spilt. and the promises made by the people who I whakapapa from, which is Nene, Patuane, Te Taonui, Mohi Tāwhai, they had to make sure that their words were followed by their deeds. So yes, old school, and so they sought to keep heke in check. Now this is where the word kupapa comes in. We considered kupapa to be neither on either side, but making sure that neither side's mana was diminished and that as many lives as possible were saved. Now when we see this, we cautioned Captain Despard not to rush or highway because no one had been killed by the bombardment. He rushed, and that's where the highest amount of casualties took place. Then he said, he is a very stupid man. Why would you rush? They're sitting inside waiting for you to come close enough to kill. Again, when we came to Ruapekapeka. Now, we came to Ruapekapeka with the Navy. We helped them, showed them where the place was, and we helped haul their gear there. Again, not to help slaughter our fellow Ngāpuhi, but to minimise damage and to make sure we were in the room where it happens so we could talk to the governor. Now, on this day, 180 years ago at 3 o'clock, 2 breaches were made in the palisades of Ruapekapeka Pā. Colonel Despard said, charge. And we said, no. So, Nene said, do not rush them. Mohi Tāwhai said, do not rush them. Te Taonui said, do not rush them. If you wait till tomorrow, the pā will be yours. In the morning of the 11th, our people were the first people in the pā. We made sure the pā was empty, and it was. The British ran past us, ran out the back into a full volley of bullets that were intended for people who came out the back. That is where the most lives were lost. Again, we were there to keep the peace. We were there to make sure our relations and our relationships stood intact. So, what is the takeaway from this? It is that no matter what we tried violence, and we tried to be on the right, in the room where it happens, at the table where discussions were made, and both sides ended up in the same place. Nowhere. So I ask, what is the solution? We can achieve hohau te rongo. That's not a problem, because as I said, my kids are as much Ngāti Manu as they are te popoto, as much Ngāti Manu as they are te mahurure. So that's been solved through marriages. We have some interesting conversations, me and my wife, when we're at places like this. But by and large, my children and my grandchildren have resolved that issue. The issue before us is how do we resolve the issue of kāwanatanga diminishing our ability to live our lives as we see fit. And we have sent people like Huhana to smooth that road, to make those changes. But it comes down to this. Those who do not enforce their rights do not have any. So you cannot sit by idly and hope that the kawana, the government, will look after you. You cannot sit by idly and expect other people to look after you. You need to stand when you need to stand. And at Ruapekapeka 180 years ago, everyone chose where they wanted to stand. And lives were saved. Apart from the British, because they didn't listen. So, my hope is now that all the ministers have gone, that as we move forward into settlement, which is a swear word to a lot of people, that we are able to resume where we were in the 6th of February 1840, and to have an open, honest dialogue, and to make sure we look after each other. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora. Gonna sing a song?
Oh,
Come and sing a song.
come and sing Here to Whera, that'll be ironic.
Oh, come and sing a Ngāti Manu song.
Here to Whera, atu nei, te awa o taumarere, taumarere, here ngā waka e. Tūranga o kutupuna e, kuana rohi te pō. Kia mau e te iwi e, ki nā kupu o haki. O tātou matua e tu whera atu nei, te awa o taumarere, taumarere, rere ngā waka e. Taumarere, rere ngā waka e. Nō reira, before Ngāti Hine's son Te Pau, which is actually a Te Popoto waiata, so I thought it appropriate for me to get my son and my grandchildren to sing E Tu Whera, which is a Ngāti Manu song written by my two brother-in-laws. So nō reira, tēnā koutou, kia ora katoa.
Oh, kia ora, kia ora. And you're right, Matua Murray, through our whakapapa and our marriages, we start to solve everything. Because I'm a patuone on my mum's side and I'm a kauiti on my dad's side. So I'm inside and outside of the pā. I want to invite in Kawhia Murahi from Orako, the Battle of Orako. And there's been a movie about it if you haven't seen it. It's really arresting and it's heavy as a descendant of pakanga to see it face to face on the big screen, but it gives a bit of an inkling or an understanding for us as descendants of Te Ruapekapeka to see such a beautiful portrayal of resistance and resilience from our people in that battle. And it's wonderful to have Matua Kawhia here because I think this is your second time to the north, so no mai haere mai. You were here for the first national Te Pūtake o Te Riri when we had it in Waitangi, and you're back for Te Ruapekapeka 180. And it's such an honour, and I know it's been a struggle to get that pā back as well. So you're an example of land back to the people of that pakanga. So nau mai haere mai e te matua. It's wonderful to have you here and to share some thoughts and wisdom with us in terms of your journey for that repatriation of the battle site to your peoples. Kia ora.
Tēnā tātou katoa, koutou, te kāinga, ngā rangatira e mōhio nei, me ki ngā tohunga mōhio, te mana ki te tangata, tēnei te mihi atu Ngāti Hine, me ngā kārangarangatanga maha, ngā hapu maha, o tēnei whaitu o tātou. I'll get straight to the point without going too much into a space where my tuakana Peter said earlier, hoki ke ngā mihi. But I would like first, if I could, to pay my respects to Puke Tutu, te maunga kōrero, ngā parikarangaranga o te maunga. Ki te pākihi, ki te awa o Waimio, me whenei pēr te kōrero e pita, ko ngā wā mihi tangata, ko ngā wā poroporo a ki ngā wairua, tēnei ka mihi atu.
Firstly, I would like to express and bring to your attention that before we left home, I had a conversation with some girls and a young lad who's from my hometown of Otorohanga. That was Leah Bell, Zach Henry, and Ty Jones. And I informed them about the invitation from the organising committee, knowing and asked them if they were available to come today e Peter. Unfortunately, ngā raru o te wā, they unfortunately couldn't come, but they did ask me and gave me permission to share their good thoughts, their aroha and their tautoko for this most auspicious day. Those young warriors from the Otorohanga College rattled this nation, and I would say woke a bit of a sleeping giant. Because what they did, they brought to attention the inequitable telling of history in this country, and how important it is that we tell our history as it was, and our people lead and manage that process. Not so much academics or politicians, but the descendants of those who stood and fought various governments who had mischievous agendas up their sleeve. And let's be clear, the objective was an economic overthrow of Māori and Aotearoa. And if anyone has a different view, I would most happily challenge you, because history shows that that process, or what happened here at Te Ruapekapeka, happened all around the world. It wasn't new, it was part of an old game. The English were old hands at colonisation, and I'm just putting on the table my views. But today, it's important to bring things back to the kaupapa, te mere whakakopa. And I'd like to reflect on the Admiral's or Rear Admiral's comments about leadership and the Defence Force. And I first heard of te mere whakakopa from Peter a number of years ago. I still remember Peter. And I've heard about Kawiti when I was a lot smaller in size and age. And I still had my faculties then, from an old kraua called Sani Waru. He was good friends with our kraua, Tahemi Henare. They served in the 28th Māori Battalion. And that's where I first heard of this great ariki rangatira called Kawiti. So we are here today, a small group of us from Ōrākau and Rangiaowhia as well, because that's Ngāti Apukura e tūnei e mihi nei ka koutou. And I've been told by my boss that I've got to tell a little bit of context behind Ōrākau, and I'm not going to be long, and then talk a little bit about implications moving forward. Ōrākau was the last battle of the Waikato War. Well, I call it the invasion of the kingitanga, really. It was an attempt to overthrow and undermine the kingitanga. Ōrākau took place in 1864 from the 30th of March to the 2nd of April 1864. It was led by a number of iwi who were working together with the objective of stopping Cameron's advance. Anyway, that's that. The rest you can read in history when I finish writing the history. So Ōrākau was a battle place. It laid for over 100 years as a farm. It was in private hands of husband and wife, Sue and Chris Kay. And when we started having commemorations, the strategy which we took from Kawiti's strategic book was to make friends with the farmers. And that's what we did. We invited them to commemorations. We befriended them, not from a marketing point of view or a superficial point of view, but from a deep Ngāwari Aroha Māori point of view. And they responded. So much so that when it came time, they were looking to sell their farm, 9.7 hectares of the old battle site. And I remember talking to Chris and asking him, before you put it on the market, do you think we could work together? Maybe we could get the Crown to purchase your land and then hand it back to our people so we can continue to hold commemorations and tell our stories. And without a problem at all, Chris and Sue Kay wrote to the minister after I drafted the letter, and they sent it to him requesting the Crown purchase their farm. Now, I think the context here with Te Ruapekapeka is slightly easier because you have no third party. You have the Crown owning a beautiful sacred site, and we're lucky that at that time Tama Pūtake was the minister. And he led our submission to Parliament to have the lands returned to our people. And I understand that Tama is also the Minister for Conservation. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so, here today, Peter, my call or urge, my deepest desire is that the Minister and his senior executive team work with the Trust of Te Ruapekapeka on a return handback process for the land. There is no excuse, none at all. Tama Pūtake is responsible for our land, our battle site coming back. So Tama, if you're listening, or your officials are listening, kaua e noho whakatare tēnei kaupapa. Kia wira, kia tere, te whakahoki mai ngā whenua o ngā tihine ki te tarati o Te Ruapekapeka. This particular, I guess, call or challenge to the Crown is based on one thing. The element called transformational leadership. Far too much do leaders in organisations, even including the military, with all of the history and knowledge, also the same with councils, regional and local councils. Leadership is transactional and administrative. We don't need that, not for this kaupapa. I believe what the trustees of Te Ruapekapeka need in the Crown is transformational, courageous leadership, not talk, not rhetoric, but action. O reira, huri tō tātou papa, e mihi nei kia koutou, e mihi, e tama kia tere, koutou, te karauna. Kia tere te whakoiti te mai. O reira, tēnā koutou, e pita, tēnā koe e taku hoa, e taku tuakana. Kua tā mai ki te whakapāhautu ki a koe. Te mea I haere mai koe, ki te kāinga, kua raru I kona, kua whakahokia mai e koe ki konei. Koina te taki I haere ātinana mai au, ki mua I a koe te rānei, ki te tautoko atu ki te mihi ki te whakapāhautu ki a koe. Ko reira, tēnā koe I te tuakana. Huri huri tō tātou marae, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou. Tēnā tātou katoa. Ko tēnei waiata, he mea whakamahara mō te e hare i te pakanga, o te pāhuatanga ki rangi awhia. Te pāhuatanga o rangi awhia. It was, without a question, a massacre. So this is the waiata which memorialises that particular sad event. And if Koro Waitere was still alive, he'd be singing it too. E pātō haue weni raro, e ho mai aroha, kia tangi atu, au I konei. E aroha ki te iwi, ka momotu ki tā whiti ki pae rau. Ko wai e ki te atu, kei whiaku hoai I muarara. I te tonuitanga, kara mai te nei ka tau e he. Karaunga I ti aui. No reira, ngā tupuna o te Ruapekapeka, moi mai, tapoto mai, I runga I te aroha, me te rangi mārie, apiti hono, tātai hono, tātou, e mihi nei kia tātou, tō tātou kaupaparanga tira, te rānei, apiti hono, tātai hono, rātu te hungumate, e moi, takoto. Tēnā koutou, kia rohui mai tātou. A mihi tua hene.
Tēnā koe te matua. Ko rangatira tō tātou noho nā tō kouwhau ki mui a tātou. Thank you for sharing and giving us a small window and an insight into the journey travelled to see the land returned as ōrākau. I mean, we're lucky at Te Ruapekapeka that we have the battle site intact. And not all of the whenua riri across the country exist anymore. They might have a motorway on it right through the middle, or it might be, a city smack bang on top. But Te Ruapekapeka stands, and it reminds us with every nook and cranny and every trench of the times of the past, but also the battle that occurred. And so tomorrow when we gather for ceremony and then also for whakamoimiti, it's on purpose. The purpose knowing that our tūpuna tomorrow, they were at church. And so we will have a whakamoimiti on the pā as well. Our final kai kōrero is a descendant of Cyprian Bridge, Matua Michael and whānau. It's wonderful to have descendants of our soldiers of the 58th who are here. And there are other descendants too, actually. There's a few around. But Matua Michael has been coming to Commemorations, and it was great to have him at Te Kahika earlier this year. Come up here. Kei te pai. He was here at Te Kahika earlier this year in May, and then came to the Battle of Ohaiwai, and he's back again for Te Ruapekapeka. And to have the whānau here is an absolute honour and privilege to bring stories of descendants, but also of what your tūpuna wrote and has shared as being a soldier in that generation. Nō reira, nau mai haere mai.
Tēnā koutou katoa, e mihi ana ki ngā mena whenua, ko Michael Smythe, toko ignoa. I whānau ahau I Poniki, e a noho ana ahau I Akarana. Nā reira, tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Michael Smythe. I was born in Wellington and live in Auckland. I acknowledge all the descendants of those engaged in the Flagstaff Wars and the mana whenua hosting this wānanga. I'm a designer and a design historian, and I've come with my daughter Yolanda and my son Nick to represent the 100-odd descendants of Major Cyprian Bridge of the 58th Regiment on foot. My mother was Audrey Leonore Bridge, daughter of Hugh Decimus Bridge. Decimus because he was the 10th son of Herbert and Leonore Bridge. Herbert Bowen Bridge, was born on the 30th of September 1849 at Te Ruapekapeka Bay, just 23 kilometres from here. So does that make us tangata whenua adjacent? Cyprian's post-war roles at Te Ruapekapeka Bay were included Commission of the Peace, Resident Magistrate and Deputy Registrar of Birth, Deaths and Marriages for Russell. Then Cyprian Louise and their son Cyprian Wynyard and Herbert Bowen Bridge departed New Zealand in October 1850. These two sons returned to New Zealand as young men and settled in Akaroa. Herbert married Leonore, moved to Wellington and produced 10 sons, cannon fodder for the empire. I could say, as Waihori Shortland suggested, we have come to build bridges. But, of course, the Hanare and Cherrington whānau and others descended from both sides of the battles, as we've just been hearing, have been grappling with that connection for generations, and there will be some here who whakapapa te Tamati Wakanena's troops who fought with the 58th Regiment. I appreciate hearing their narratives along with the descendants of those who fought with Heki and Kawati to defend the integrity of whakapūtanga and te tiriti. Our family perspective of the Flagstaff Wars has been informed by Major Cyprian Bridge's journal, along with the watercolour documentation he created in collaboration with Corporal John Williams. I've selected a few edited excerpts from the journal to offer some insight into the viewpoint of a loyal British infantry officer. April 4th, 1845. Received orders to hold the headquarters of the 58th. Is that you? You're making a commentary on my corridor? Yeah, I think that's right. I received orders to hold the headquarters of the 58th Regiment stationed at Parramatta in readiness to embark on the shortest notice for New Zealand, alarming accounts having been received from thence of another outbreak among the natives. The total destruction of one of the principal settlements in the Bay of Islands. So he arrives at the Bay of Islands, and on April the 22nd he wrote, "Heard we were anxiously expected as the town of Auckland was threatened to be attacked by a chief of the name Kawati." Waited on the commandant and reported my arrival, afterwards called on the governor, who told me in confidence that an expedition was to proceed immediately to the Bay of Islands to put down John Heki and his rebellious tribes there assembled. One of the friendly tribes, led by Tamati Waka, has been fighting with Heki and had beaten him and driven him into a corner where he said he would hold him till the governor sends troops around to take him prisoner. Well, that was wishful thinking, wasn't it? April the 28th. At 4:30, sent the Grenadier Company ashore with Colonel Hume to plant Her Majesty's flag and proclaim martial law. A salute from the North Star and 3 cheers from all the ships, after which they returned on board, dinner on board the North Star, when it was arranged we should sail at daybreak up to Pamari's Pa and knock it about its ears and raise it to the ground. This is the British way of thinking. I read more about that last May at Te Kahika commemoration. There's just one excerpt about the Battle of Ohiwai that records Cyprian's puzzlement at the design and construction of the palisades surrounding Heki's pa. June 25. The guns being brought to the new battery within 200 yards of the pa, great hopes were entertained that a breach would soon be made. The native fired their first shot from the pa this morning, and the guns commenced about 8 a.m. Many shells burst in the ditches and the pa, but owing to the elasticity and tenacity of the flax, which closes up as the ball goes through, it was impossible to see what extent of damage was done to the fence, and no practicable breach was made. I could only ever think of him taking on that British tone of, "I say, old chap, this just isn't cricket." Anyway, moving on to Ruapekapeka. December 23 marched with the remainder of the force to the new encampment at Waimeo, a very beautiful spot on a low hill in the valley. Could see Kawati's position from here. December 24. The Governor, who was Sir George Grey at the time, and Colonel Despard went out to reconnoitre the road and the pa, and accompanied by 600 men. Orders issued for the march of the troops to the new position tomorrow morning. That is 700 men and 2 12-pound howitzers. The remainder to be left under my command. The 2 32-pounders not to be taken up. More folly. I hope the chief, who was Despard, had got a lesson at Ohiwai, but it will be the same thing over again if he goes to work in this hurried and unprepared manner. December 25th. A miserable wet morning, Christmas Day, the advance is countermanded. December 26th. The 32-pounders were sent for, pursuant to the Governor's wishes, and were got up with great ease. Orders to march tomorrow morning. But he was still unimpressed by Despard's orders, and he later writes, "Alas, how deplorable it is to see such ignorance, indecision and obstinacy in a commander who will consult with no one or attend to any suggestion made to him, and in consequence has neither the respect nor the confidence of the troops under his command. Everyone looks disheartened at such a beginning." I think it was texts like that that made it a requirement of our family that this diary is never to be published. But I think that time has passed. It's been in the public domain for some time now. December 31. Kawati hoisted his flag today for the first time since we came up to this position, which signifies his readiness to fight, and that our shells and rockets must have killed some of his people and put his blood up. But our shells and shot are all being frittered away in this absurd manner instead of keeping up a constant fire, whilst the enemy find out where they are safe and shelter themselves while the fire is kept up, and then return to their trenches to await our assault, which they expect is our mode of warfare, fully convinced they will serve us the same as they did at Ohiwai. January 1, 1846. A very curious and uncommon phenomenon appeared today, about noon in the heavens. A young moon with a bright star near it was distinctly visible at the same time as the sun shone brightly. This some of our Maoris, who are very superstitious, interpret to be a good omen and say it is Kawati's flag, which has a sun and a moon and a star upon it, that we knocked down, gone up to the sky. Others said it was favourable to Kawati, as the star was on his side of the moon and not ours. This remains to be proved, but I believe they all took upon the fall of their flag as fatal to their cause. I hope it may dishearten the savages and make them take themselves off, for I am heartily sick of this life. January the 4th, Sunday, a day of rest. Occupied myself in sketching the pa and our encampment, our occupied ourselves sketching the pa and our encampment or huts, heard that the shell had cut down the flagstaff, killed a woman and child in her arms, a grandchild of Kawati's. January the 7th, a chief appeared and asked what more we wanted. Okay. Oh, that's been in the sun, hasn't it? It's very hot. A chief appeared and asked what more we wanted. We had been a month here roasting them with iron, and we were not satisfied. He was told that we would be... He was told that we should not be satisfied until they left the pa and we got possession of it. And the governor sent a message to Kawati to request that he would send away all his women and children, as he did not come here to hurt them, and to express his sorrow that the woman and child had been killed at the pa on the 1st of the month. I fancy they are leaving the pa and that they will shortly all bolt, but I hope not before our batteries open upon them, as it's better that we should drive them out than that they should go of their own accord, just to show them what we can do and take conceit of the rascals. I thought of editing some of that stuff out, but then I thought I should be honest. January the 10th, about 4 p.m, a considerable breach having been made in the fence opposite the stockade. That's today. A party of 200 men were ordered down for the purpose of assaulting the pa, but this manoeuvre was strongly opposed by our native allies. Waka and Moses told the chief if he attempted to storm, he would only lose his men as he did at Ohaiwai. But if he waited till tomorrow, he would get the pa, which was only a bundle of sticks after all. Not worth the sacrifice of life for nothing, as the enemy, they were sure, would be gone. Their good advice was fortunately taken, this time by our sapient leader, and the party ordered back to camp. January the 11th. Anxious glances were turned upon the pa this morning to see if the enemy was still in it. Being Sunday, we thought nothing would be done. However, about 9 o'clock we saw some of our Maori stealthily creeping into the breach and looking cautiously around them, beckoning and waving to us to follow them. Thinking the pa was evacuated, many soldiers and sailors ran off from the camp without arms or ammunition. Colonel Despard, who was in the stockade at the time, ordered 50 men under Captain Denny from the advance battery and 50 more from the stockade to advance to the pa. But no sooner had they got inside than they were received by a volley from the far side of it. It appears the enemy, possibly thinking we would not molest them on a Sunday, had assembled on the far side to be out of the way from the shot and shell. And some were at prayers when our natives entered, one of whom incautiously rang the bell in the pa which gave them the alarm. Our natives turned and ran out immediately. They were fired on. But our men were determined to keep position and pushed on to the far side, and a very hot engagement commenced. The enemy fought most desperately and gallantly to regain their pa, but they were driven into the woods, where they kept up a most destructive fire upon our people for about 4 hours. Our men could not be kept within the fences, and many a brave fellow fell in foolishly rushing out and exposing himself in the wood, from which they at length drove the enemy. Had our men kept within the defences of the pa, our loss would have been trifling. At about 3 p.m, he got permission to leave the camp. I found the pa much stronger in its interior defences than the one at Ohaiwai, but the outfences and ditches were very similar, and all the faces well flanked. There were also deep holes underground all over the pā, which were so constructed as to be bomb-proof, in which the men secured themselves from the shot and shell, 2 cross fences and breastworks inside, so that a fire could have been kept upon us even had we succeeded in forcing the outer fences by storm. Took a rough sketch. So I've sent a PDF illustrated transcript, edited to make it much more readable than the one that's available online, to the organisers of this wānanga to be made available to anyone interested. So I'm not quite sure how they'll go about that. Yeah. And the bridge descendants continue to come to terms with our uneasy heritage. Many of us now see ourselves as tangata tiriti and are among those who value the resurgent evolution of Te Ao Māori. As a designer, I see the ongoing potential for creating a symbiotic relationship that enriches us all on every level. I appreciate the manaakitanga of this wānanga. Thank you for allowing me to participate. Tēnā koe. Kia ora. I'll just add, there seems to be the habit to have a little footnote afterwards. This umbrella that I designed for blunt umbrellas, just a one-off for a competition they ran. I call it Blue Sky, Sunshine and Togetherness, but it should really be called Kotahitanga. But listening to Wahuri Shortland's comments about 2 nations and a nation within a nation, my feeling is if you're going to have 2 that are, I don't like using the word integrated, even it is better than assimilated, but integrated still suggests a kind of a sameness, a homogeneity. My feeling is if the 2 together in a symbiotic relationship, that is, each strengthens the other, each is better off for the relationship with the other. And so if we're going to have a symbiotic relationship, each participant has to come from a position of strength, and that's compatible with the idea of a nation within a nation. Thank you.
Kia ora, kia ora. Awesome, Matua Michael. Matua Michael staying at Pūtake Marae too. And I mihi to your umbrella. Wow, far out. You're a blunt umbrella designer. You can Google them. It's a very Gucci brand. And that is really cool. Hang on, we've got to get you down. You all right? You all right? Okay, te whānau. Kua nui, kua rahi tō tātou noho, but really interesting listening to the writings of our tūpuna and Cyprian Bridge through the battle, the day-by-day reflections of the battle. So, yeah, thank you for sending through the copies for us. It will go to the Trust, and they've got the website, which is developing awesome. And we've had our rangahau space here at the events, and the kōrero has been really great to help build the pātaka kōrero for the Trust, and gathering in more insights and information and reflections from descendants. We are going to finish up shortly with prayer, but wanting to send out some pānui and reminders that those that are on the buses, primarily they're all leaving basically at around 2:30, unless you're in Waikato, that's 2 o'clock. So go home, go to the marae, have a rest, and we're reconvening very early down at the corner of Te Ruapekapeka pā. So if you're catching the Kawati marae bus, you're here at 2:30 in the morning. If you're in Kaikohe, 2:30 in the morning. Whangarei, 2:30. Waikare is 2 o'clock. If you're at Pūtake marae, there's a bus there too. So there's a few buses coming from different locations. but the intention is to load up those buses so that we can all come in a hopefully succinct way with traffic management and park up for our first unveiling of the Pouihi tomorrow morning. If you pass the Ruapekapeka Road, you'll see it. It's a big, massive 10-metre Pouihi on the side of State Highway 1. It's a beautiful thing. And then we'll head up the pa for the unveiling and blessing of 12 tupuna pou. And culmination of the whakaarara or the haka of welcome as we walk up on top of Te Ruapekapeka for the final part of our program. We will finish all of that process from about 3:30 in the morning through to hangi brunch at 10 a.m. Back in the car park area. We'll come back down the pa and we'll share a meal together. So that's our calendar, our agenda for tomorrow. But for those of you that are intending on coming on your car, don't. We're trying not to have cars come, but if you are going to come on your car, come very early because the road will close at 3 a.m. To allow preparation for the buses to come in. So we're inviting anyone who is going to come on their car, park in the paddock, follow the traffic management in our Māori wardens, and be parked up by 3 a.m. as our buses will start rolling in. And we will commence the formalities of the unveiling of the Pouihi first at about 3:30, 3:45, and then we're heading up the pa because we're chasing dawn for the other 12 tupuna pou. I can't stress how this is such a big thing for us because it's very unique. We haven't done this in the north before, having some 13 pou being unveiled all at once. So just the logistics of it means that we're heading up the pa shortly to carry on while you go and have a rest. We're going to carry on with the mahi and acknowledge our committee that are up there and over here. But it's an awesome thing to be a part of. So I'm going to invite Wiramu Keretene, who's one of our carvers of the pou. I want to acknowledge you for that, Wiramu, just give you a special shout out. And Keretene being a Sherrington, a descendant of the Pakanga. Yes, Matua Michael, yes, your eyes lit up. Just to give us a little krakia to close us, and we'll all shoot off and start getting ready for our dawn ceremony tomorrow. For those of you that aren't joining us, thank you for being here with us. Those online, it's been great getting heaps of messages of support, and particularly those who are descendants have been messaging in. It's been wonderful to have you engage online as well. So we'll pass the time over to Wiramu to give us a word of prayer and thanking our Kauiti whānau for hosting us here. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Kia ora tātou katoa. I'll give you the mic. Yeah, Anei.
Mauri ora kia tātou, ko tai mai tātou ki te mutunga o tēnei rangi a tāhua. Nā reira, ko tukuna tēnei wahanga kia au kia hakakape ato tātou nei rā. Nā reira, kia ino i tātou. Kia tau kia tātou katoa, te atawai tō tātou nei ariki nui, ko io ro, ko io matua kore. Nā reira, whakamoia taku toki, ko te toki i whaongia tēnei kaupapa, i tēnei rā. Nā reira, ka ara mai te toki, a haumie, hui e, tāiki e.